they get on.
We will. Now, if you were sporty at school, but have let it all slide for whatever reason, there's a new campaign all about getting women back into sport.
Now, to get the message across, Sport England cast a number of real women in an inspirational video.
Me again. Allow me to pick up where I left off.
Right, let's go, Mum.
The biggest phenomenon, and I Picasso with the pen. Just wanna talk that stuff till I hit it with the realness. Figured I should say something, but you don't wanna hear me vent. 2, 3. You can talk bad all day long, I will never be impressed. Don't know what I did to make you feel that you be yelling my respect.
Well, those were real women, and to prove it, they're here in the studio. We've got Kirsty, Yvonne and her daughter Patrice, as well as Kate Dale from Sport England to tell us more. So, Kate, yeah, let's start with you and the problems that you've been observing and why you're doing this.
Well, whether you're getting back into sport or maybe you've never even really got into it and have really enjoyed being active, women told us that when all they see is really stylised, filtered, slightly overly perfect images of women getting active or playing sport, it was very unrealistic and it didn't really encourage them to take part. It made it feel like it wasn't really for them. So we wanted to change that by showing everyday real women getting fabulously active in the way they fabulously do and sharing their stories.
Yeah. So, Yvonne and Patrice, mother and daughter, you must have been about 5, Yvonne, when you had Patrice, because you look so young. You look like sisters.
Far from that.
So you two, I mean, separately loved sport. You were telling us, Yvonne, that you loved sport in school, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a lot of sport in school.
So what changed and when did it change?
Well, for me, it sort of started when I left school, and then I sort of furthered my education, went to college, met a few friends, and I was more interested in probably going to clubs and wine bars and what have you. So after a while, I did sort of stop. And then I did sort of go back into it because it's something that's embedded in me anyway. So I knew I probably would have gone back into...
It's a very interesting, when you start looking at the relationship that you have with sport when you're young and when you're older. I know well, for me, my life was spent in a gymnasium when I was younger, and for me it was all about competitions and, you know, whether or not you're best in your school, your county, the country, whatever. That's where it's at when you're younger. And then maybe you haven't been successful, so you've bowed out of it. And then finding a new relationship with it is often quite the tricky thing, and that's been the case with you, hasn't it, Kirsty?
Yeah, so growing up, I did a lot of competitive sports with netball, etc. And obviously having a family, netball's always been one of my passions. And so as soon as you get pregnant, even though netball's a non-contact sport, it so is a contact sport. And so you kind of stop playing. And then obviously you have your children and it's trying to squeeze in childcare whilst you're going to play, you know. But for me, it's carving out that time because I think it makes me not only more physically more active, which is good, you know, for your health, but for me mentally, it's for my sanity, really, getting that bit of a break and that time back to myself to feel like I can be more patient and tolerant with my kids. And, you know, for me, it's physical as well as mental. So, yeah, it's definitely a sanity thing for me.
Well, hopefully, lots of women out there will think about making time, because that's the key with it. Find time. If it's 5 minutes,
hard,
here or there in the day, something's better than nothing.
There, Kirsty. That's it for tonight. A big thanks to Gillian. Sex Education is available on Netflix right now.
We're going to be back tomorrow with the star of the BBC's latest Agatha Christie's adaptation. The Pale Horse actor Rufus Sewell will be here. We'll see you then. Good night.
Yeah,
We're going to do some Kate Pitt. We're going to do some Kate Pitt.